All righty, boys and girls, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to High Top Sports. We have the Gator great in here, Mr. Chris Doering. Chris, thank you for hopping on. We really do appreciate it. And you've had a long day, and it's been a long day of football, so we appreciate you hopping on here, man.
Yeah, no, good to be with you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's dive right into it. So obviously it's been hectic in Gainesville over the last few months with Billy and recruiting and the Rashada drama now. And I want to get your take because you've been through all the camps. You're been connected with all these guys and the past coaches. What's your thoughts of Billy Napier year one on the field and off the field with recruiting thus far?
Well, I like Coach Napier an awful lot. You know, I've come to know him a little bit over the last year. Really impressed with his organization, with his attention to detail, with his planning, and I think maybe the biggest seal of approval that I could have heard was having been in Tuscaloosa last year covering Alabama's pro day, and had 2, 3 different guys unsolicited come up to me and tell me, "Hey, man, you guys got the right guy down there in Billy." So the fact that coaching staff thinks as much of Coach Napier as they obviously do is a pretty good seal of approval. So I'm excited about the future. I think the problem is that people didn't realize just how much of a rebuild process this was going to be, and the undertaking is much greater than probably anybody would have expected. Maybe the worst thing that could have happened to Florida, in all honesty, was winning that game against Utah. I think it set the expectation level for the rest of the season a little out of whack. I was the guy that thought this Florida team, with what they had returning and Coach Napier's first year, would probably go 7-5, 8-4 would have been a really good year with the difficult nature of the schedule. But going 6-6, especially after winning against Texas A&M, you got a chance to 4 very winnable games in November. Not the way that you wanted to finish, and obviously embarrassing trip out to Las Vegas for the bowl game. So they've got some work to do to get some momentum back, but I do think they clearly are doing the right things as it relates to building a program from the bottom up.
Fantastic. And as for recruiting, this class obviously has dropped down with the loss of Rashada in the ranking perspective, but it was a high quality class. Can you speak to that? Are you excited for what you've seen come in compared to other classes? Because again, that's been a big talk of, hey, the Mullen guys that have all left, it's not the same type of caliber and same mindset. Can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that a coach comes in and puts his own fingerprint on his team and creates it not only with players that fit the scheme that they want to run offensively and defensively, but also fit the culture. And, from what I heard and people I talked to, there were some folks that didn't necessarily fit in alignment with the culture that was being created there. And kind of a big gap between the buy-in from the freshmen that were recruited by Billy Napier last year and the holdovers from Coach Mullen's staff. So I do think that, again, it's a much different situation than what Brian Kelly inherited at LSU. A lot of talent on that roster. I think it was just about trying to get them playing with a little bit more chemistry together, holding them a little more accountable, and he certainly has done that there. But you can tell the attrition of the roster. It didn't happen in the beginning of the season, which I'm cool with. Usually a coach takes over and there's a lot of guys that hit the transfer portal. There was not that many guys. A lot of buy-in from the players and coaches being patient and wanting to really get to know those guys. And so after the season, and you got 12 games, 13 games under your belt, you have a better feel for the guys that you have there, and the players, have a better feel for whether or not they fit in with the coaches that have taken over. And so that's why you've seen so much attrition. But I like the ability to start fresh. I'm not a huge recruiting rankings guy. I understand it, but you can go back and look at Texas A&M. Texas A&M has had amazing recruiting classes the last 2 years, but they don't have a culture that is a winning culture. And that's why you see guys missing curfew the night before the Miami game, or guys that are getting in trouble reportedly, smoking weed in the locker room or whatever. Like, there are a bunch of me guys, it seems, on that roster. And I think Coach Napier and his staff are trying to build a true team here with accountability to one another.
I love all that. I love the attrition part too, because I expect the guys to leave early on, like you said, but not too many did. And I think that speaks volumes to who Billy is as a coach, because he came in and I think he was trying to buy in to what was there already and not completely just ransack the situation. But he's got to be able to slowly build that in. And I think through the year or through the season, that's when kids realize, like, this isn't going to be a good fit. and it looked
Yeah.
bad. But in all honesty, like what you just said, for the fact they didn't leave early shows that, hey, he was able to sell them on a dream early. They realized, okay, this isn't going to pan out, no big deal, but we shouldn't be too panicked about what we saw
Yeah.
at the end of the season.
And I do think that one of the things that I could immediately tell was different from this year's team than previous year's teams was when things went wrong, they didn't hang their heads. They didn't show that bad body language. They fought, and that started in the game against Utah. You give up that touchdown late, or you take the lead, and Utah's driving down the field on you. You get the interception in the end zone to seal that game. Time and time again, whether they were in the game or they were getting beaten soundly, they would fight all the way to the final whistle. And so I think that speaks to the coaching staff and what they're trying to build, and to credit those players for buying into that as well.
Now, and it's way too early, but obviously you had them going 7-5 last year. What's your way too early prediction for next year with Graham Mertz?
Shoot.
Looks like he's going to be at the helm. And look, it's over the top, but it's fun to talk about because it is so early. You can kind of get a little flexible with it.
I have no idea, man. Honestly, I don't even know that I've looked at the schedule very well. I know it. Did they set the game for the Utah game? I know there was talk about that moving to Thursday. Did that get officially moved to Thursday night?
Not yet, but it's up to the Pac-12 official, so it's up to them because they control that. I think with the Colorado TCU game being on Saturday, I think that's going to play a lot of factor into whether they go on Saturday or Thursday.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. I mean, I tell you, it's a challenge going out there playing at altitude against a very physical team like Florida experienced with Utah coming to town this past year.
Sure.
But yeah, it doesn't get any easier with having to make that return road trip, and the elevation of the SEC East. I think you've seen the East obviously with Tennessee, coming out of nowhere, but I expect Kentucky to get back on track. Missouri's gotten better, so it's not an easy schedule by any means, especially when you have Georgia in your division.
Yeah, that's what people really don't realize too. Is while we've been kind of in this weird up and down process for the last 4 to 5 years, everyone else has kind of been figuring their stuff out and getting stronger, and we're now trying to catch back up to that. And that's what people got to understand too. Is it's going to take a little bit of time of buying into this. This entire Rashada situation, you've tuned into it a few times. You've made your you've had some points on it. With it now kind of settling down, are you still kind of in the same mindset of what's going on with the $13 million, or what's your take on it? What more do you know, or is more going to come out? Do you think, or are we kind of going to be left in the dark with all of it?
Yeah, I don't know how much more is going to come out. Again, every time that I've talked about this, I've been clear that according to Fox News, the timeline had that contract being terminated back on December 7th. That's 2 weeks before signing day. What was it that led Jaden Rashada to end up signing at Florida? If it was all about the money, why did he end up signing that NIL deal? Was he promised something else? Did he think the money was going to come through or the contract be reinstated? I don't know what that answer was, but I do know that right now in college football, there's a lot wrong. I'm a passionate college football fan, and even I am starting to get a little turned off by what's going on. I think the biggest injustice right now is what we're seeing with adults taking advantage of opportunities here, smelling the money and not necessarily doing the right thing by the kids. So I do feel, I'm embarrassed as a Florida guy that it's gotten this kind of negative news nationally. But at the same time, I do think there's some misrepresentation that's taking place of exactly what went on. Regardless of all that, I am confident. I know for a fact it was $13 million, and I know that there's not a high school senior in the world that's worth $13 million. So the only thing that would have made me more mad than what happened here with that offer being pulled and the embarrassment of the story coming out would be if he'd have come here and they'd actually paid him $13 million. That would have made me even more mad.
Wow, yeah, that's been a big debacle too of whether or not that's a true figure or not. So I think we can all agree that look, that's a lot of money to give to a kid. I mean, you played. Now, when NAL started, when the original idea came out, were you a fan of it? Were you bought in? Because again, with being a college student, you understand what it is being, a college athlete and things you guys got to go through. Were you bought in on the original idea of it being a name, image, and likeness?
A little bit of both. I mean, for those that don't know my story, I walked on originally. I'm from Gainesville, Florida. Grew up a Gator fan. Nothing meant more to me than having the opportunity to wear the orange and blue and run out of that tunnel and represent the University of Florida. So, I I look at it a little differently. I got that scholarship. I know the value of the scholarship because my family paid for my first 2 years of school before I got put on scholarship my redshirt sophomore year. I also know that I made good money in the NFL, but I made a lot more money because of what the University of Florida afforded me, an opportunity, that degree in the College of Journalism. It's helped me get my jobs at ESPN and SiriusXM. The mortgage company that I own, I have an opportunity because of the platform that was given to me by the University of Florida. So I do understand there's a lot of money being made in college athletics and college football specifically. I am a fan of players being able to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness, selling jerseys. I got, Danny Warfel's here at the house with me. Danny Warfel, number 7 jerseys would have sold really, really well, or they did sell really, really well. But, he would have made a lot of money off of that. I think I would have done well with opportunities that would have presented themselves to me too. But there's a big difference between what NIL is supposed to be and the way that it's being utilized right now. Pay for play is illegal. Recruiting inducements are illegal. The NCAA has got to, start enforcing these rules. College football in general has got to find a way to get this thing rectified before it turns more people off and it spins out of control to a point it's unsalvageable.
Yeah, no, look, and I appreciate your take. And again, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you had a long day, but Chris, I really do appreciate you hopping on here. One last thing before you go, though. If it's you and Judd on the course, who's taking it? Who's taking home the gold?
Oh, shoot. Judd's a much better golfer than I am. Judd ain't going to beat me in much, but he'll beat me in golf. I get him on the basketball court. We want to lift weights. We go for a run, whatever it is. I'll beat him in most of those things. But golf course, he'll get me. Ski slopes, he'll also get me, but that might be about it.
I love. I wanted to see that little fire come out. I knew it was in there. But yeah, he's nasty on the golf course. But tell Danny we said, hey, we gave away a free signed photo of him the other day. So people were pretty pumped about that. But I appreciate you hopping on here. I know the fans appreciate it, and I'm sure I'll be by the tent with Judd next year. So if you're there, we'll say hey. But Chris, I appreciate you.
Hopefully I'm not. If I'm there, that's a bad thing. That means I am not working with the ESPN and the SEC Network anymore. So I'll have to catch you in the off season sometime, man. We'll look forward to getting together here one of these days.
Yes, sir. I'll have to come to Gainesville. We'll hang out and catch up. I do appreciate it. Go. Thank you. Thanks again, Chris.
Sounds good. All right, man.
Gators.
Take care.
Yes, sir.
Go Gators.
Well, boys and girls, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed that episode there. Look, he's had a long day today, so he kind of told me before, he's like, hey, man, I'm kind of exhausted. And I was like, hey, we can redo this. And he's like, no, gonna rock and roll. I told you I'd hop on, so let's rock. So huge shout out to Chris Doering there. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I know I did. Probably definitely one of the cool interviews we've had on the channel. But super thankful to have him on there. Super thankful for you guys as well for hopping on here late on a Sunday afternoon. But make sure you guys show some love, subscribe, drop a like. We'll see you guys on Wednesday unless anything happens in between then. But we go live every Wednesday at 8:35. You guys have a great Sunday. Go Joey B and the Bengals since our Jaguars are out. You guys have a good night. Love you as always. Appreciate you.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move.